Alrighty, wonderful. So it looks like we are live now, and I've started to see some people come into the webinar today. If you can hear me clearly, I'd just like you to put up your hand so we can check that the audio is working fine. Awesome, thank you, Deborah, Fran, Mary. Awesome, all right, so it sounds like you can hear us fine. And for those who sort of have joined the last few webinars from Inspire, you'll notice I've got a couple of guests joining me today, where we've got Natasha Hawker from Employee Matters, who's waving now, and also Danny King from Danny King Legal. So we've got a pretty exciting webinar this morning. While people are still joining though, I might just launch one of these polls, and we actually haven't done a poll before or for a very long time in a webinar. So, so I'm going to launch it right now. So on your screen, you might have the ability to vote here, but it basically says, have you applied for JobKeeper? So this is going to give us a little bit of context into who joining has actually applied. And already I can see that 86% of people, so we've had 21 people vote so far, almost 90% of people have actually applied for JobKeeper already, which is so cool. Very, very cool to see. So I'm going to leave that open for a little bit. You know, I can see the attendees are slowly creeping in, so people are still joining. Now, the reason why we've actually got Natasha and Danny and I on the same call is we've actually, I've known Natasha for a number of years, and also had, I think, Danny and Natasha, how long have you known each other?
7 years, I think. 7,
oh my goodness. There you go. So the whole purpose of getting the three of us on the same call is we all work with business owners, and what we're seeing in this sort of COVID-19 you know, state of craziness is that you know, we actually can't advise a business really well without the help of the legal, like from an accounting perspective. I can't truly advise someone without the legal and the HR support, and vice versa. You know, you might have some legal problems, but does it work from an accounting aspect? And then how do we implement that from a HR? And so what we've found is we've actually been working over the past few weeks and months even on a number of mutual clients, and we thought we'd actually wrap up now that the JobKeeper craziness has sort of settled down, but there's still actually things that we need to consider as business owners. And so the three of us have sort of got together, and we're almost giving you all right, now JobKeeper's finished, you've applied, and even now we can see that 90% of people watching have actually applied for JobKeeper. What do you do next? And so that's what we're excited to share with you this morning. So this morning, actually, Natasha's going to host, will be the MC today. And so I might pass over to her, but we can see, just sort of wrapping up that poll, that thank you for the 31 people who responded there, 32 now. Yeah, again, overwhelmingly, 90% of people have already applied. We've got 2 people who've said that not sure if you're eligible yet. And so I might touch on that a little bit in my my section today, and then another 2 who've said no, they haven't. So I'll finish that poll now, and I'll hand over to Natasha.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ben. So welcome everyone. I can see lots of people have joined. There's a few familiar faces. I can see David, I can see Helen, I've seen Tammy and Wayne join, and Corrine. Welcome. The first thing I'd love you to do is to pop in the chat box whether we're coming through loud and clear. So if we have Caroline and Rose who are managing the chat box and the Q&A, so just put that in there to let us know that you can hear us okay. I can see some chats coming through. Fantastic, that is great news. So if you haven't already, if you can mute yourselves, we are recording this because we had so many people apply for this, and a lot of people like to listen to it in their own time, so we'll let them do that. So let's start with a couple of intros, because for some of you, you know one of us or 2 of us, but you don't know all of us. So I'm going to kick off. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Natasha Hawker, and I'm an employee expert. I help businesses create exceptional business performance through their people. Think employee relations, policies, recruitment, and terminations. So I'm going to hand over to Ben now, and Ben can tell you a little bit about himself.
Wonderful. Thanks, Natasha. Yep, my name is Ben Walker. I run an accounting firm based up in Brisbane called Inspire. And I think we're going into our sort of 7.5 or 8 years almost now. So it's been a bit of a journey so far. Yeah, just a sort of thing we're super proud of at Inspire is saving, I think the number is almost $11 million now in tax savings for our clients, which is pretty cool. So thank you.
Great. Over to Danny.
Hello everybody. I love using a very old photo. Danny King here. I am the founder of the very creatively named Danny King Legal, and I'm an employment lawyer. Love what I do, and particularly love working with excellent accountants and HR to deliver brilliant outcomes for our wonderful business related clients.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, guys. So we are known as the Business Relief Team, and what we do know, and Danny and Ben and I have been lucky enough to do hundreds and hundreds of webinars, is the more you guys put in as an audience, the more you're going to get out of this. So I encourage you to turn your phones off, get involved in the Q&A, put your comments in. Your feedback is our fuel. It really helps us. And please note that if you haven't done a poll before, no one can see what you specifically answer. Your comments are confidential in those polls. So as some extra incentive to get you guys involved, we're going to give away 2 books today. One is a signed copy of Ben's book, Cashed Up. He didn't know he was doing that, but he will be. And the other is a copy of my book called From High to Fire and Everything in Between. And Caroline is going to be judging the best question and the most interactive person on the chat. So keep your eyes out and get involved. They're great, both really, really good books. So JobKeeper came out on the 30th of March. Can you believe it is less than 2 months? We talk about, with this team, the BRP team, we talk about COVID years. It's a bit like dog years. It almost seems like a lifetime ago since that came up. And this is going to sound a little harsh, but my view, and I think the same with Danny and Ben, is if you're thinking about JobKeeper just as a government wage subsidy, you are so missing the point. I think it's about how you can come out of COVID-19 number one in your industry if you apply this well and cleverly. And guess what? The government's going to pay you to do that. So that's what we want to talk about today. But what I also know is it's an extremely complex piece of legislation. And as we've said, there's 3 components of it. There's an accounting, there's a legal, and there's obviously a HR component as well. So we've split the webinar into those 3 sections today. And our aim here is to give you as much value as we can. And so we're going to push through this really quickly. And I would encourage you to pop any questions that come up as you are thinking of them in the chat box. I can see some chats are in there now. I can see that actually Karen's joined us from Dubbo. Well done, that's fantastic. So great to hear. What I also wanted to share is there will be a way for those of you who might think at the end of this, actually, I'd like a little bit more help. And so we're going to share with you how you can get more help if you need that. So let's get into it because we have a jam-packed session. So I will scroll on to the boring but incredibly necessary slide. The information that we're giving you today is general in nature and not specific to your requirements. It does not constitute formal legal advice or HR advice. So take it in the vein that it's meant. And we would strongly encourage all of you to stay abreast of all the updates around legislation and advice from our state and federal governments so that we can stay on top of that. So now that's done, let's get into the exciting part, and we're going to go to Ben to talk about accounting.
Fantastic. All right, thanks, Natasha. So yeah, I was just sort of wondering what to sort of share this morning, and there's like 3 things that I wanted to run through for business owners of what we need to be focusing on at the moment. Now, the first one is super obvious, which is our monthly reporting for JobKeeper. And so with so as you would have applied, the initial step, or the first thing you would have done, is actually go and enroll for the JobKeeper program. And we had, I think we had a webinar almost probably a month ago now on the steps involved in doing that. But the ATO isn't actually going to pay you any money at that point. And so what you need to do is basically each month we need to go and claim the JobKeeper payment straight using the ATO, what do you call it, ATO services and web page, and we need to go and report some key numbers. So the first thing, and I hope most of you have already done this bit, but we need to go to bp.ato.gov.au. BP isn't the petrol station. What we're talking about there is the businessportal.ato.gov.au, or your accountant can do this on your behalf, and we're actually looking after that on behalf of a number of clients who have decided to get our help with the monthly reporting. So we need to go to that website. Then each month we need to report a couple of things. The first one is your GST turnover of the previous month. So April is the first full month we claim. Now that April's finished, you need to know what your GST turnover is, and you pop that in the form. And then the ATO is also asking you for the estimate of the following month, or if we're claiming for April, what is May going to look like for your business? At the moment, we're looking for the best guess. It doesn't have to be exact, and there's no penalties if it's way under or way over. What we're sort of seeing at the moment is that businesses are, sometimes we're being a little bit more pessimistic than the actual outcome is going to be, and we see that business is already picking up, which is great. So don't worry if your estimate of the following month is way under or over. Each month, though, you do need to report your actual turnover for the previous one. The other one we also need to do is, are your employees still eligible? So this one's relevant if you've got any employees who leave employment. Maybe they sort of quit, or you terminate them, you fire them. I'll leave that to Natasha and Danny how to work out how to do. I'll just deal with the numbers. But you do need to report on are the employees you're claiming JobKeeper for still eligible for that. And then my recommendation is lodge it as soon as you can. So you don't actually get paid until you lodge this thing. And so we've already seen money starting to hit bank accounts for our clients. So basically as soon as the month finishes, the first couple of days, make sure you get that reporting in. So that's kind of the next steps on what to do each month. So we might go to the next slide, please, Natasha. Thank you. Now, we've talked about the employee eligibility. The next thing we need to do is make sure or even confirm that your business is eligible. So this has been one of the most confusing things to actually apply for and know if you're eligible for. And one of the ways which businesses who are still unsure if they're eligible or not is they can actually apply if they believe that the June quarter is actually going to be more than 30% downturn compared to the June quarter last time. Now, we don't have crystal balls, or I don't. So, as business owners, we don't know what it's going to look like yet. All we can do is have our best guess. And so what some business owners have been applying for the JobKeeper program with the assumption that their June quarter is going to make them eligible for this. But as we get through this June quarter, we want to make sure that that's still looking like it's on track. So if you haven't yet applied, which is only going to be 10% of the people watching or less, given it seems like everyone, well, most people have, then we've still got June quarter as a way of accessing eligibility. Now, the other thing that we've got more clarity on over the last week or two is from the ATO's perspective. They want to make sure you've actually done some research and made sure from an eligibility perspective you've documented why you believe you're eligible. Now, what they've clearly said is any attempts to sort of defraud or fiddle with the numbers so that your turnover becomes eligible, they won't take that lightly, and they will sort of punish you if they can find out that there's ways they see that you've done that. On the other hand, if you've estimated your future months, like let's say you're estimating the June quarter is when you're eligible, and let's say instead of being 35% downturn, you're only 28% downturn, then the ATO has actually said, document why, and let's say you turn out to be ineligible but close, then we might consider your payments actually to go through. So they're not actually going to send you to jail if you've legitimately tried to do the right thing and it just happens so that you just just sort of miss out. They may not, and they've even said this, even though you may be under 30% downturn, so technically not eligible, they might just let you keep the payments anyway. Which is actually pretty relieving. Alrighty, and so my recommendations on what to keep there is make sure you export your profit and loss from Xero or whatever accounting software that you're using, and save them, because the numbers do change if your bookkeeper goes and sort of does some bookkeeping for last month or that sort of thing. Also document which test. Now there's a main test that you might pass for March, April or the June quarter, but there's a lot of alternative tests for businesses with different circumstances who may not be eligible on the main one. And we've had a lot of clients who are eligible on the alternative tests. And then the last one there, yeah, basically extract your profit and loss, your balance sheet, every other report you can out of Xero or your accounting software to make sure you've documented why you believe you're eligible. Now, that's a process we've been doing for clients who've got our help, and we've literally got an audit pack sitting on our client file for them. In case of audit, we just basically send that to the ATO. So that's the eligibility side of things. Now, thank you. And then the final thing we need to do as we start claiming the JobKeeper payments is make sure your cash flow and budgets are up to date and incorporate this benefit. I've seen some businesses where, without the JobKeeper payment, the viability of the business for the next few months is questionable. But when you start factoring in, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in payments per month from JobKeeper, you can see that the business is going to be okay. But always best to know what your cash flow and budget looks like. There's an easy way to do that in Xero. We've also been helping clients with that sort of thing. And there's even a way with what Natasha is going to share later with the business relief package that we actually do this part for you or with you over Zoom. So yeah, I can't sort of stress enough. You need to know what your cash flow looks like over these next few months. Yeah, there we go. All right, well, that's kind of my 3 key points for today. I think we're actually handing over to Danny next to through some legal considerations that we need to work out.
Thanks, Ben. It's a good point to segue, because you're helping everybody to understand that getting cash in doesn't mean that that's the end of the job. It comes in, and if you just let it sit there and you don't apply it intentionally within your business, then you're going to be quite passive. And we've really got this amazing once in a lifetime, or maybe even once in the history of the country, opportunity here. Billions, tens of billions of dollars filtering in through our little businesses. So it's really about grabbing that opportunity by the horns and bringing it out for all it's worth. So let's get stuck in, please, Natasha. As the lawyer of this part of the trio, I'm going to be talking to you about what the legal opportunities are, and there's some really exciting new opportunities that have come out of the changes that come in with JobKeeper. Thanks, Natasha. So these are brand new things. They're very special, very limited rights, where we can apply some flexibility to your business to really help you weather the storm. So once you've done the work with Ben, you're understanding, okay, if we project our cash flow is going to be like this, you put the money in from JobKeeper, you can start to toggle some of the information and think, you know what, I don't have to spend the 100% on that person's wage. They're sitting on their bum doing nothing anyway. Let's shave off the amounts of money in addition to JobKeeper and save some budget there. And we might think about also, oh, there's a huge annual leave balance over here. Let's try and get some of that down. Let's shift that off our balance sheet. Let's be a Qantas and leverage the money from the government to do something else. Sorry, Qantas. Love you guys. So that we can get the maximum value out of this, because big business is doing this. Big business have got teams of lawyers on it, working out exactly how they're going to leverage the absolute bejesus out of it, and you can too. So I'm personally really excited about all of these peripheral bells and whistles that have come through with the JobKeeper legislation. What's really, really important to know before I talk about these different little parcels is that the obligation is on the employer to make sure that they're able to actually do all of these things. Differently to accidentally getting coverage under the JobKeeper scheme and having the money and dealing with the ATO to pay it back. You know, you might get away with it, you might not, who knows? That's only the money side. When you're dealing with employees, they are still your biggest risk. They're still your biggest expense. And so you've got to make sure that you have a genuine basis and an objective basis to believe that you're covered by the JobKeeper provisions, and you only act once you've got that comfort. Because if you decide, oh, my business has gone down, I'm going to try and apply these JobKeeper directions, the different ones, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. The obligations on employers are the same. The penalty exposure on employers is the same. And there are no free kicks here just because we're going through a global pandemic. You must still tick all the right boxes. That being said, let's talk about some of the interesting things you can do. We've got a JobKeeper enabled stand down. This is how we can shave off the excess wages on top of the JobKeeper, and it's a partial stand down. So if the person is earning a notional $100 an hour, JobKeeper is going to pay them for 7.5 hours in a week because it's $750. So once you've paid that $750, everything on top of that, if they're not doing any work anyway, we can shave that down if we're very careful and jump through the right hoops. There's documentation, consultation, and I recommend extreme caution. However, it is possible to save yourself a lot of money on that extra bit. So that's the JobKeeper enabled stand down. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Next one I think is really great, the directions. So we've got direction about duties and a direction about the location of work. We've all probably jumped the gun on giving directions about location of work without having gone through all of the steps that we need to. That's a lower stakes thing than a stand down. Stand down, very big deal. Please work from home, much less of a big deal. And with this one, it's a squeaky oil approach. If you've got someone in your team that is jumping up and down and screaming blue murder because they are not comfortable in their home office or think that going to an alternative location is too far or whatever it is that they've got a problem with, then you should be focusing in dealing with that particular problem. But otherwise, having a consultative approach about where you're going to have a location of work, it's probably going to get you over the line. But you can actually make a direction. As an example, our firm moved on the 1st of April. And so with this fantastic timing to scale up operations, we've had a lot of people who are working from home and are starting to dribble back in. There's about 5 of us in the office today. And I have actually let all of my people make that decision for themselves. Other businesses are having to be a bit more prescriptive about who's going to work where. And if you are covered by the JobKeeper directions, there's a special method that makes it a bit easier to the usual. If you're not covered by the JobKeeper directions, such as our business, we need to do it under the traditional method of a renegotiation of contract, or it might be sitting in this bubble of a reasonable and lawful direction. So just because there are extra bits that we get for the JobKeeper doesn't mean that that's the only way. And the direction on duties is about saying, well, I don't have what you normally do, but I do have some filing. And so it'd be really useful if the business could have the benefit of your filing skill. And so you direct the person to do alternative duties. Again, you can do that in normal employment law. There are quite a few risks involved in that. What the JobKeeper direction has done is just de-escalated some of the menace that you would otherwise feel in having this kind of imposition on an employee who might otherwise think, hey, you've just demoted me. You're punishing me. Why are you doing this to me? So it's just helping people get perspective. We can also have agreement, and this isn't a normal agreement. So a JobKeeper agreement requires the other party to act reasonably. Without the JobKeeper, we can still come to an agreement. You can come to an agreement about almost anything. But it's in situations where you've got a recalcitrant employee on the other side who's digging their heels in, they've got a bit of an entitlement complex, they're not in it for the team, they really don't care that you're the entrepreneur with the blood, sweat and tears that have put it into the business, then they're the ones that the JobKeeper provisions are really going to be useful for, because you can make an application to the Commission to help clear that person as a roadblock. So all in all, I think that the options that have come out of the JobKeeper, for those of you in receipt of JobKeeper, are really brilliant, and there's so many opportunities here to leverage this very special situation that we're in. What we're doing here is we're helping you restructure your people for your business's survival. You need to put your business first, because it's like fitting your oxygen mask before that of a child. This is how you're going to be able to provide for your own family in the future, and as many jobs as possible are going to be kept. So you need to really put your business first, even though that feels a bit shit at some points. Thanks, Natasha. And finally, we've got to maximise the benefits of your extra cash. The government is doing this to firm up business. Small business is the engine of our economy, and the point of it is to really help you succeed in a commercial way. So it is okay. I'm formally giving you the permission that I'm hearing a lot of people need to actually save some of the money that's coming through. Not the JobKeeper money, that must all go straight through, but you're going to be making gains in some of the efficiencies in the business, and that is okay. Do not feel like you have to throw yourself on the sword so that the employees get the maximum amount in their pockets. Think about your business. That's all I've got to say. Thanks very much, Natasha. Oh, here are my details. They look beautiful. I'm done.
Oh, sorry, Natasha, you're just on.
Sorry, poll time, guys. If you could load up that poll. So the poll question is, have any employees that you have stood down received written confirmation of this? I'm just going to stop my video for my section. So can you load that poll up for me, please? It's a yes, no, not sure, or maybe kind of response. So if everyone can quickly jump in there super quick, we can get a sense of this, because I foresee this is a bit of an issue, and I just want to make sure what I'm hearing is actually correct. So as quickly as you can, yes, no, or not sure, or maybe.
Righty. Natasha, I'm not sure whether you can see the results, but as they're coming in, we've had about a third of people respond. Half have said yes. A third have said no, they haven't given written confirmation, and then another quarter have said not sure or maybe.
Okay, that's actually a little better than what I thought, that a number of people had given some written confirmation, because what we're finding is that's not the case. Okay, if you can share those results, and then we'll get on with the HR piece, which is where I think there's a bit of a missing part of JobKeeper.
Yeah, wonderful.
So we're just sharing those results now.
Cool. I think, sorry, I'm new to the new poll thing, but I think that might have shared up on the screen.
Perfect. That is yes, 50%, no, 30%, not sure, or maybe 20%. Thanks, guys, for filling that out. Okay, let's talk about the HR side. So in the midst of all the financial and legal complexities, I do have a major concern that we're missing, as is too often the case, the actual people and team implications of this. While it might be simple, you actually need to have conversations with your team as individuals or as a group. But in my experience, it's generally not done well, and that's to your detriment. Two really important words I'd love you to take away when thinking about the HR component is on the screen now, which is consultation and documentation. And throw all your questions in the chat box, guys. Very happy to have a debate on this. The government basically took the very bold step of passing temporary amendments to the Fair Work Act, which is what Danny's gone through, but it allows you a reasonable degree of flexibility for employers who qualify for JobKeeper to make lawful JobKeeper-enabled stand-downs or directions to their employees. But the implementation piece is key. And I'm quite fearful that many businesses have gone off and made the changes, completely admitting to do the necessary requirements of consultation and have not documented. So consultation, and I want to hear whether you're shocked at this, because I think maybe you might have documented, but have you consulted? So the consultation process under the temporary amendments requires a 3-day consultation process, 3 days. Consultation, for those of you who aren't aware of it, is about engaging with your employees, notifying them of your intention to implement a JobKeeper related directional stand down, and you're actually inviting them to consult on the change. And during that 3 days, your employees might have suggestions or feedback for you, and you have to truly consider their point of view or feedback or suggestions prior to implementing the JobKeeper directional stand down. So while consultation is a legal requirement, the way you communicate with your employees and deliver the process can truly, truly make a difference to your results. And if you're not engaging with them on an emotional level, getting their input and suggestions, you're missing a huge opportunity here to take your employees on a journey. And that's not just a journey for now, that's a journey for into the future as well. So let's face it, I believe your team are critical to how quickly you're going to rebound from this crisis. You want them on the bus with you and not off the bus. So consultation encourages cooperation, engagement, and has countless benefits around increased productivity and engagement. So it's much more than a tick the box option here. With our clients, we've been providing 2 letters as part of implementation on that JobKeeper related stand down or direction, providing clear directions on how to capture all of those conversations, the suggestions, the responses that you have with your employees as part of that implementation process. And the documentation, and let me really emphasize this, is all about compliance and covering your backside, basically. It shows you've undertaken a process, you've captured the outcomes, the changes, and it forms part of your defense should a disgruntled employee make a claim against you. My biggest piece of advice right now, and this could solve half the world's problems that we have with our employees, is communicate, communicate, communicate. And this should be done on a frequent basis and with empathy and care. You know, you think about it, we are going through something that we've never experienced before. Keep your team up to date in a dynamic and constantly changing environment. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I actually don't know the answer there. But make sure that everyone has a framework of the temporary and the new working environment. So say, for example, you have an employee who has a JobKeeper direction, such as a change of duties, which the example Daddy gave is now they're going to do some filing for you. I would suggest the following framework to structure that conversation. And for anyone who's got a pen and paper, write this down. Pinpoint for the employee exactly what you want them to accomplish. Create a measurement or some KPIs for monitoring progress to give them that qualitative and that quantitative feedback. Provide feedback and then reward and recognize them. And then keep checking in with them to find out how they're going. And you never know, they might find out stuff that like they really like what they're doing in the new circumstances, or they may find something in the process that you never knew or wouldn't know that can be done better, or see opportunities that you're not seeing. And I think the other piece I would share here is mental health and domestic violence is a real issue, and that's a whole other topic. But just because George was okay yesterday doesn't mean George is going to be okay next week. You have to massively increase the frequency of your conversation with your team, because they're out of sight doesn't mean they're out of mind. And my next tip here is involve your people on the journey. Talk about the future, keep them updated. And this will make it much easier for everyone when it's time to unwind this and get back to business as usual. Don't we all want to get back there? And stay close to your people and keep those lines of communication open. Support them and show that extra care in your communication. This is a big one, and this is so hopefully you don't have to go and see Danny. Be it with either good intention or lack of knowledge, employers have got it wrong. We are hearing it's not everyone. There's a lot of people who just they didn't know, but there are some horror stories that I'll save for another time. Employers who've operated at record speed to shut their doors due to government enforcements, and they need to quickly cut costs, and they've needed to pivot and fight to survive. So amongst our clients, we've seen the good, the bad, and the truly shocking. And many people can basically missing that all-important implementation piece. As I said, it's not just about paying the wage subsidy. So when you don't follow a process correctly and you don't document, the law has not been altered for COVID-19. So there is no get out of jail card here. And did you know that it's just gone up, but it costs an employee just $73.20 to put a claim in to Fair Work for unfair dismissal. And I think Danny could probably comment on how busy Fair Work are at the moment. But if you recognise, oops, I think I've done something wrong here, and you want to try and fix it, get professional help to do that. It will cost you much less in the short and in the long run, and may also help you sleep better at night. Gaps can be fixed, not always, but they can often be remedied, and it can sometimes be as simple as ensuring that you have a letter documenting that change. And the Fair Work Commission definitely takes into account if you try and fix something after you've realised you've done it wrong. Another concern I've got here is that we've seen a lot of stand downs occurring verbally, as in the boss just comes in and says, you stood down, as we've got no work and we have to close our doors. But the employer has not issued a letter or come to an agreement to reduce the employee's hours or salary. And again, no letter documenting that change. And as Danny touched on here, Qantas has a lot to answer for here, as the public in many cases just copied what Qantas did, not realising all the documentation that's sitting behind the decision and the flaws of lawyers that they have at Qantas helping them through this. So I expect that for some, if not all of you, you would have some slightly squirmy or unpleasant surprises with my part of the presentation. Please know that my job here is to inform you, even though sometimes this makes you not like me very much at all. And that was all I wanted to cover off in that section. I do want your questions because I think, you know, as we transition through this, people got their head around the accounting space, and now we need to get our head around the other space. So that's, there are our details. Feel free to get in touch with us today on this or any other aspect of this. The next thing I wanted to move to in the interest of time, because I want to leave plenty of time for the questions, because I actually believe that's where you get the gold. You know, I'm not going to share Danny's legal rate, but you can talk to her and get a sense for nothing today of where your position at is, where you might need some more advice or not. So true value is in the Q&A, so jump in there. Now, I did say I would share at the beginning a way that some of you could get more help if you wanted it. And some of you will, and some of you won't want any help. You've got this all covered, and that's totally cool. But Danny, could you please share a way of how we can help people who either want or need it through the business relief package, please?
Well, this is why we're here, and I'm very happy to talk about this product because I'm so excited about it. And with the clients we've already helped, I've seen what an impact it has. So as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity that's coming out of the support and the stimulus from the government, and just getting the application in is the first step. So most of you have done that already. There's a couple of you that are still kicking around the idea, but now you've got to really maximize the value of that opportunity for your business and also for the future. So what we are offering is similar to this presentation, a triple threat, which is actually the original name that we had for it. It's the business support package, and it's really about helping businesses to access the thinking behind the financials to really make sure you're making a good decision based on the information to hand, then leveraging the opportunities that exist in the law, all of those really delicious brand new flexibilities that come from the JobKeeper legislation. And finally, and I think probably the most valuable part of it all, is leaving you with HR who will give you the actual documents on your letterhead, ready to roll. Send it out to your people so that you actually can have something tangible to follow through on the great idea. If you're anything like me, I have a lot of brain farts where I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to totally do that. But the execution is what lacks. But with this, you're getting the whole thing done at once and well supported. So for me, I think it's just a bit of a no-brainer, and we're so excited to be able to help businesses realize the value of this amazing investment by our government. Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks, Danny. Now I'm going to try and do something that I haven't done before live on a webinar. So be nice to me if it just takes me a minute to get it going. I want to quickly work through a model with you that might help your thinking. And I'm just sharing my screen, and hopefully, can you guys confirm whether the team can see that? Perfect. Right, so I thought this might help you decide whether this package is right for you or not. So I'm going to run through this really quickly, and it requires audience participation. And actually, this gives us a bit of market feedback. So we'd love your thoughts, be as honest as possible. So as Danny said, the price of the business relief package is $1,500, or equivalently a JobKeeper payment. Now, what I'd love you to do is, at the moment, as you hear about that, with what you know, out of 10, with 1 being that is so cheap, I cannot believe it, and 10 being this is ridiculously expensive, I can't believe they've charged that much for it. Where does $1,500 sit for you as a price out of 10? And if you can throw that in the chat box so I can see it, that would be awesome. So put your answers in there as quickly as you can. Chat, we'll just get that up. It's a 1 out of 10. Oh, that's great. So nice and cheap for Mary. Helen's saying an 8. And look, be as honest as possible. For everyone, you have different price points, and I'm keen to see. But I'd like to get a feel from more people as to where that sits as a price point, and I'll just pop that in my box of 10. Because if I'm going to have to choose this is for the business stimulus relief package. So 6, 3, I'm hearing. Keep them coming fast as you can. Use your fingers, guys. Give us some feedback. Okay, I'm going to put that in as a 6 out of 10 for now, because I've seen a couple of 7s come through. All right, here's the bit where I need you to get involved, again in the chat box. And thank you for your feedback there. But what I'd like to explore is the potential benefits to you if you were to use the business relief package. And I'd like you to share your thoughts in the chat box, and I'm going to get you started. I think one potential benefit for you is your business actually survives thanks to the government. And I know one of the great things that Ben's been able to do for our clients that have gone through this already is they've gone, actually, my cash flow is quite good. I'm actually feeling quite positive about this. I was really worried about it before, but now I actually feel good. You've heard that a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done it for a couple of businesses who have been forced to sort of shut their doors, and their revenue's gone from, they've lost 90% of it, not just 30. And to get to the end of that session and show that the business has enough cash flow to and actually show a tiny, even though it's a small profit, at least it's a profit at the end of the month. That's been super relieving for the people who've gone through that process. Absolutely.
Brilliant. So what else? I think there's a reinvention option. Put your options in here. What do you think the benefits are? I think you can build new products. Danny and Ben and I did not have this product. We've 3 businesses just gone together and gone, there's a need here. Let's just build a product. We did it in a week.
And we had so much fun.
We did.
So,
and we continue to.
I think there are engaged and happy employees. Come on, guys, you can work these out. What are the benefits if you roll this out effectively? I think the other one's systemization. Getting somebody to look at your business and actually systemize it so that it can be done on a rinse and repeat cycle. And the other thing that I would suggest here is I'm using the time to do this. We're doing efficiency reviews. Is the process we're following the correct process, or are we burning cash unnecessarily in it? Any others? You're making me do all the work, guys.
Oh, I've got one.
Yes, go for it.
Pick me. Okay, so if you're ordinarily trying to make the work of your employees turn into money, so we're a service business, as a lot of businesses are in Australia. If the JobKeeper is paying your employees, the pressure is relieved from making them into little billable units, and instead you can put them onto future generation exciting kind of opportunities to really innovate. And I know that we've got reinvention there, but you can help those people to start thinking more expansively about what it is that the business can do and how they can be engaged in a future, and really come with you on the journey about your business 2.0. It's a crisis opportunity.
It's a crisis opportunity. We hadn't had that quote today. That's a Danny King special. I think the other big one here is no legal action. That's huge.
It is, at least the clarity. Danny's not sure.
What are you talking about? There's lots of legal action.
There is. For the people who haven't done it right. Okay, yes, guys, I want you to think it, blink it, not think it. Even if you got 50% of this, what would that mean for your business? What would the benefits valuation look like? So for example, if you aren't in business anymore and you used to turn over $100,000 a year, and you are in business now because you've rolled out JobKeeper, then the benefit's 100,000K. If you're comfortable to put a figure in there, and as I said, just put the first thing that comes to mind. Say you were to do some of this, what could it look like for you? Viability of the business continuing. Absolutely right, Debbie, that's brilliant. Tabitha says, cultivate team creativity. What I'd love to push you to do is what does that dollar value mean? What does that look like? Anyone better structured? That's a great one, Ruth. What an opportunity to restructure your business. And guess what we're finding is we're finding opportunities that we would have never had this not happened. We've been forced to innovate. Danny and Ben and I may not have worked together. And what we do know is that it costs a heap to recruit. So if you're suddenly ready to go, your clients are like, come back, and you let everyone go, it costs between 50 and 150% on top of your base salary to rehire. If you've got an average salary of 65K, that's expensive. Is anyone brave enough to put a figure in there for what they think the benefits might be?
If nothing else, Tash, I'll second your 100K. Okay,
let's do 100. So if we look at the benefits of 100K versus the 1,500 now, quickly put in your number out of 10. How expensive is the business relief package out of 10, with 1 being ridiculously cheap? Ruth says 100 too, so another vote for 100. And 10 being ridiculously expensive. Kathy says it's a 1. Let's get some more results so we can average those out. As quick as you can. While you're popping those in there. 4, 1. I'll keep an eye on that. There's another box over here. This is what we call the cost of inaction. What I mean by this is, what's the potential cost to you and your business if you do nothing? What's the cost to you to self-implement? So have a think about that. If you've got any, no business is absolutely right, Debbie. That was one of my options. So you won't be in business anymore. So what's that cost? What's the dollar? Oops, sorry. What's the dollar value of not being in business anymore? You can't restart quickly. What's the dollar value of that? Or you're reported to Fair Work because you self-implemented. What's the value of that to you? 1.5 million. I think that's great, Debbie. And I think, you know, when we sometimes call ourselves on this, we go, that's a big figure. And actually, when you add it all up, it's not. So thank you for getting involved there. I want you to ponder this piece because there may be more thoughts there. And just to be really clear here, guys, I make no apologies here for trying to get you to see how important this is. We're all very passionate about this because we just see it as such a great opportunity for businesses if you get this right. So thanks for that, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are into Q&A. So let me just jump back to our main screen. And Caroline, I am going to throw to you for the first question because I am busy driving here. So if you can unmute yourself and give us the first question and then I can catch up.
Hi, everyone. I've been keeping track of all of the questions that we've had so far. So the first few questions are relating to accounting. I have a question from Joe. I clicked yes, we've applied for JobKeeper, but we remain unsure if we're actually eligible. ATO said we were only eligible for FN1, so we will only claim for FN1 then stop claiming. This is not how we understood the JobKeeper process has worked, but are going to follow the advice of the ATO. Ben, does that make sense?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that's the second time I've heard the ATO's advice to just apply for one fortnight. I have no idea what they're talking about there. And what I would recommend is that you actually get a second opinion from an accountant that knows their way around JobKeeper, just to make sure that what they've actually recommended is right. With JobKeeper, the way that we've understood it is that once you're eligible for one payment, you're actually eligible for the full 6 months as a business. It's your employees that we need to keep a check on their eligibility. Yeah, I have no idea. It's the second time I've heard that in 2 days. So I heard it yesterday and then again today. So I would definitely get that checked and almost sort of reconfirm what you think your eligibility might be, and even look at projecting your June quarter, or alternatively, we've got the alternative tests as well. So that would be my response to that question. Thanks, Caroline.
Okay, I've got a question from Susie. When you spoke about the June quarter less than previously, do you mean the previous quarter to June or the June quarter from last year?
So that's June quarter this year versus June quarter last year. But that's on the sort of surface face value tests. Keep in mind that if your business has suffered a downturn in the last couple of months or projected June quarter, then there's those alternative tests. So a lot of people don't know about them, but they're for businesses who might have purchased a business, or they might be high growth businesses. So last year was lower than, call it the last 12 months on average. And we've got literally 6 alternative tests we might consider you. And within them, within those 6, there's actually sort of sub-tests within that. So the best thing we can do from that perspective is, jump into your Xero file with you or your accounting software, and literally run every possible way that we can look at eligibility. Now, we have done that with a couple of business owners, and they did have a downturn, but it comes out at 20–25%. It's not enough, but at least you'd know whether you're eligible or not. I think that's the most important thing, is that certainty. Right.
Now I've got a message from Damien. My daughter, who is a nurse, is gainfully employed, but has advised that nurses are not, was advised that nurses are not eligible for JobKeeper. Is that the case? Some nurses have been stood down while selective surgery has been cut back.
Ooh, tricky one. I don't know of any industry in particular that isn't has been sort of carved out of the JobKeeper. I think it's more of an employment perspective. So I'd be asking, who does she work for, and is her employer eligible to actually receive JobKeeper and therefore pass it on? Because there are some, I think there's some certain, especially at the larger organisations, where their turnover has to drop a lot for them to be eligible, like more than the 30%, or even some sort of government. A lot of nurses are sort of government workers. I think there's parts there where they're not actually eligible at a business level or the employer level.
Yeah, Ben, I think you've got to look at, is the employer public or private? And if they're a private employer and they're someone like Ramsay Healthcare, I would expect that their turnover would be in excess of the billion, which would force them into that category of needing to show a 50% reduction in one of the tests, which, that's a lot to show. And so those employees are still covered by the protections of the law. However, JobKeeper might well be out of the reach of those people purely because of the organisations that they work in.
Caroline, I'll take over from there. Thank you for that. So a question from Amelia: is JobKeeper still available to employees until September 2020?
Oh my goodness. I think so. Based on everything that we've ever been told so far, it's for at least 6 months. And then in the last few days, you've seen SCO or in articles and quoted on TV and stuff like that, saying that they'll consider whether they need to switch it off early if things go back to normal. At this stage, I think we're proceeding as if it's going to be for the full 6 months. That's what we've been told. yeah, I guess stay tuned because that could change, unfortunately, and I just hope it doesn't, given that some businesses are really sort of relying on this from a life or death perspective. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Great question from Roz to you, Danny. What if you make a directive you want half your staff back on alternative weeks, but a staff member refuses to come back to the office?
Those staff members are such a pain in the bum, aren't they? And this is not all staff members. It's that recalcitrant hardcore of the very opinionated employee that just doesn't want to give in. And so you have to deal with them on a case-by-case basis. But the rule of thumb is the employer is able to make reasonable and lawful directions to their staff. This, to me, looks both reasonable and lawful in the abstract. You can also, if you're in receipt of JobKeeper, fall back on the extra provisions that are provided under the JobKeeper legislation, where it is an alternate direction on the location of work and also the duties. So it would be able to be reviewed by agreement, or you seek their agreement, and then if they refuse and it's unreasonable, you can actually make an application to the Fair Work Commission to have that reviewed and try and force them into coming back in.
Guys, we're a couple of minutes to the top of the hour. There are a few more questions, which I'd love you, if people are happy to stay around, we're happy to hang around to get to them. I just wanted to answer this first from someone who is an anonymous. What do you get as part of the 1500, the business relief package? So essentially you meet with Ben first. He makes sure you're getting all the government entitlements that you're meant to be getting, does a cash flow forecast for 12 months. So you know what your financial position is. That information then goes to Danny. Based on the documents that Danny will need to see from you, she's going to do a business legal strategy. What are your options for dealing with each of your employees? If you have a problem child like that one, how do you deal with that individually? And then you come to the HR component, where we help you implement, both from a consultation, documentation, scripting, and then you roll out your letters. So you basically get each of the pieces of the puzzle done, and we've had people implement fully within a week from meeting. Now that's tight, but they've literally met with Ben, met with Danny, met with HR and implemented. Okay, Paul says, my friend has a temporary visa, partner visa, that has a right to work in Australia with no working hours week restrictions. Would she be eligible for JobKeeper, or is it only Australian citizens and permanent residents?
Oh, look, I've got to confess I don't know the answer to that one. I think that it is only for people with permanent residents and citizens, but I'm not entirely sure.
Paul, why don't we check that and we'll come back to you on that. I'll just quickly go through. Here's one from Amelia. If someone is a full-time employee on JobKeeper and the hours have been reduced to match the JobKeeper payment, and they have agreed to work these varied hours, can you maintain these hours until JobKeeper is over so we don't have to pay the top up? The answer to that is yes.
Yes, if you've implemented it properly, you've got the right documentation, you've consulted in accordance with the 3-day requirement, etc., then yes, that stays around until JobKeeper ends, and then you've got to spring back into business as usual.
Great.
So that's the hard bit.
Okay, we have recently, we have a weekly Zoom meeting to catch up with the team. We take feedback and give weekly updates based on the government. We then agreed a plan that involves the team as well. It's been working really well, and confirmed this in an email. That's great, Amelia. Let's have a look if I see anything else down here before I wrap that. So much action. Caroline, I hope you've worked out who our winners are.
I have, and I also have another couple of questions that have popped up in a different screen.
Okay, I'm over there now.
One of the questions is for Ben. The business relief package that we are offering today, is the cost of that tax deductible?
Great question for Ben.
Yes, the answer is absolutely. That is tax
deductible.
deductible.
Yes, absolutely.
Yay!
or $1,500, and then you can get GST on the back as well.
Great. I've got another question. Can you increase the hours of an employee during the JobKeeper period? Will the employee have a chance to say yes or no to that?
Oh, so that is a very tricky question because you've got two kinds of employee that's covered. If we're talking about a permanent employee and you're looking to increase, then that needs to be done by agreement, because even if that person's traditionally only working half a day a week, they're going to be getting $750 through JobKeeper, just like someone who's working 5 days a week. And so they're probably going to be reluctant to say yes to an increase because, you know, they've got a different kind of work-life balance to the person that's got a full-time job there. So that's permanent is tricky. Casual is even more so, where a casual employee under the common law has the right to refuse shifts even if they're regular and systematic. That's the point of having a casual employment relationship. So if, as we've seen, there are casuals who are being quite recalcitrant and saying, no, I'm not going to be turning up to work, you have to pay me no matter what, then there are different kinds of approaches that we need to take with those employees. And it might be that you actually issue a warning and you terminate if they are really taking the piss. But it's something that you can only do by agreement, and I would tread very carefully around that.
I'm thankful I stick to the numbers.
Okay. Is this the question you mean, Caroline? What about businesses looking to enrol in JobKeeper now, but have an employee or two who haven't been paid?
Yes, it is.
$1,500 for one or two of the first fortnights. Can they top up now and back pay those employees, or just claim the fortnights for here onwards? I know the answer to that, but I'm going to give that one to Ben because that's his space.
Thank you. And I'm just opening up the nice little table that the ATO have put out, see if I can find it. But unfortunately, the back pay dates for the first two fortnights have passed, and I even think fortnight 3 as well. Actually, can we go to another question? And in the meantime, I will look.
You have a look at that. All right. Well, Well, I think that's almost all the questions. So Caroline, have you picked our winners that are going to need to send us their street addresses so that we can post them a copy of the book?
I sure have. Now, I think our most interactive person, it was pretty close, but Amelia, if you can send us your address, we would love to send you our prize. And I think best question, I'll give that to Joe.
Great. Well done. Fantastic, everyone. Okay, I will start to wrap us up while you look that up, Ben. But I would like to close by thanking you all for being such a great audience. Caroline has popped in the chat box. There's some more bonuses for you. There is access there to our podcast, HR Heroes podcast, where we talk about JobKeeper in a lot of detail, and also retrospectively. So from a historic development, I think it would help you understand where JobKeeper started and where it's come to. There's also a quiz in there that we're drawing the prize for this afternoon on your specific, there's a couple of legal questions, a couple of HR, a couple of...
and it is a fabulous Friday afternoon prize. It's a lovely bottle of Moet champagne and chocolates delivered to you for one lucky respondent to our quiz.
Oh, me? Can I do it, Caroline?
No, you can't.
But I know all the answers.
Yes, that will be coming through. And the other thing here is, for those of you who are interested in the business relief package, there's a link in there to express your interest in that. And I'll pause there before I close just to see whether Ben has had any luck with those dates.
Natasha, I do have one last question. There was a participant who asked if Natasha, if you could just give a very quick overview again of what's in the business relief package.
Yeah, I'll go through it. So the first thing is you meet with Ben. Ben works out, based on your business, you specifically understanding your business, what government entitlements are you able to or eligible to get? and make sure you set up correctly on JobKeeper, and does a cash flow forecast. So in 12 months time, they'll make some pretty good estimates to know where you'll be. And what you'll find is that there's a lot of stuff you can claim at the moment, and it may not be as onerous as what you think. The second part is all of that information gets bundled up and sent to Danny, and Danny then does a strategic legal strategy for you. What do you need to do as a business for your employees? What are the things you need to watch out for? Don't want to do that because that'll get you into trouble. Being creative about what can you do within the letter of the law so that you're optimizing your opportunity. And then once she's completed her section, you get handed off to us in HR, and we help you implement it, both from how do you consult to your employees, scripts for that, and documentation for that. And so then you're able to go and make sure that you have those conversations with your team members and that you can document them. So that's the process. So it's an all-in, you know, it's, Danny described it as, it's like Disneyland in that it's a small world after all. You just go around, or a sushi train, and then you get all three aspects of JobKeeper, so you're getting a rounded view of it.
Awesome. And I finally found the table I was looking for. So thank you, Natasha. So just to answer the question is, when are the cutoff dates for your fortnights? Hopefully you can see my screen here. We've got JobKeeper Fortnight 1 and 2. The dates were the 8th of May, which from memory was last Friday. And that was a very, very big day for us. Fortnight 3 was the 10th of May cutoff. So this is the only one we've got, because 10th of May is passed. So if you haven't gone and done the back pay for fortnight 1, 2 and 3, unfortunately the ship sailed, so to speak, and there's no news that we've seen on extent to that, which is a touch unfair, given I think we had about two business weeks to actually sort this out from announcement to get your back pay sorted, and so a little bit cutting it fine thanks to the government, but we've got all these other fortnights coming up, which if you haven't done your back pay you can still do as well. So thank you for that question, that one, and just I'll copy this link into the chat box as well, so anyone can refer to it.
All right, guys, I know we've gone over time, but I'm hoping we delivered enormous value to you. I'd like to thank you, because I know everybody's heads are spinning at the moment and we are busy and I'd like to particularly thank my co-presenters, Danny and Ben. They are running around, as we all are at the moment, like idiots. There's a lot going on in our world. So thank you for sharing your time with everyone today. And on that note, please connect with us all on social media. We share a lot of great content on there that you'll be able to connect with and keep up to date. And that just leaves me with the final close, which says, take care, stay well. And remember, your legal exposure, your financial position, and your employees really do matter. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks,
awesome.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Big love.
Bye.